Yes, good morning, everyone. I can see Harnath on the screen. I expecting few more to join in this class. Anyways, we'll begin the class now. Hi, Harnath. Good morning. Yeah, fine. Now we'll begin the class, and in this class, and we'll be discussing about urban planning and governance. Why urban planning and governance is needed to address the needs and problems of urban growth. I think we'll be focusing more on those aspects in this class. Uh, as we discussed in the last class, that the urbanization not only brings progress, but also it also brings the problems, and due to lack of urban planning and governance. Suppose if you don't have a urban planning and governance, and it is invariably leads to the problems, uneven growth of urbanization in many cities, and that we actually witness in Indian context. Therefore, the rapid growth of urbanization in India, particularly, has led to the growth of cities and towns. Right. So this urban planning, encompasses the many different disciplines which attempts to accomplish and develop a sustainable, user-friendly, economic, and social organization, and so on and so forth. Now, this urban planning, as we see that it is very much essential to address the problems of urban growth, problems of uneven development in urban areas. So, what we'll be discussing in this class is that urbanization is no doubt, it's being increasingly, it is getting increased day by day in Indian context. And so this increasing in urbanization has led to the growth of cities, and which results in lots of housing shortages and overcrowding and slums. And in fact, this the urbanization cannot provide and observe many rural people, and actually migrate from different parts of rural parts to the urban cities, and in search of livelihood, employment, and dignified life. So it cannot provide the employment to a lot of people. So as a result, there is a result in the growth of unemployment, poverty levels, and you have pollution, and as well as the uneven growth of urban development at large. So what it requires, right? Now the question comes, what it requires. So it requires a proper urban planning and governance. Suppose if you don't have a proper urban planning and urban governance, and we cannot address the urban problems in urban areas. So you need to have that. So now we'll be discussing about what is urban planning. So why do we require urban planning? So, or are there any attempts in Indian context to demarcate and implement those urban planning? And we'll be discussing those aspects in detail. Now we'll be discussing about what is urban planning and why do we require it. Okay. The urban planning basically indicates, right? Urban planning basically indicates, with the development of design and regulation of the uses of spaces on the physical form, economic functions, and social impacts of the environment, and so on and so forth. So. It is urban planning concerns itself with both the development of open land, and the revitalization of existing parts of the city, thereby involving goal setting, data collection and analysis, and so on and so forth. And particularly, urban planning concerns itself with both the development of open land. So what I mean by open land here indicates the greenfield sites. And if you observe that, the urban planning basically involves in development of open land sites. And in open land sites, and you have the growth of construction sites and buildings. That could be education institutions, and that could be medical institutions and administrative offices, and employment of business opportunities, and so on and so forth. So and this increasingly the use of geographic information systems, particularly those are called GIS, and has been used to map the existing urban system and project the consequence of changes. And particularly, I want to emphasize the fact of, I'm just taking the example of Hyderabad. For example, you have the new the development function called Hydra. So with that Hydra, so why Hydra is being so useful and so popular now is that now Hydra is depending on the use of geographic information systems to map out the existing urban systems, to map out and project the consequence of those changes. So in a way that the government, the state government as well as the central government, they are coming up with various policies and policy measures to address, to map out the urban problems and to address those urban challenges. So this urban planning, and particularly, is a theory and practice of the planning and the construction of cities, towns, and populated places, providing a comprehensive solutions to socio-economic, civil engineering, transportation, and architectural problems connected with design and construction and its implementation. So therefore, the process of urban planning cannot be seen in isolation. Rather, the concern of urban planning is related to the entire region, and thus there is a need for regional approach to urban planning. In other words, that so the the regional approach to urban planning basically involves the sustainable approach. Urban planning, it's not merely indicates the economic development or construction of some buildings. It is also indicates the development and protection of the various species that actually there in the urban planning. So this is therefore the urban planning basically seeks to address and promote the sustainable development in urban planning. So it is equally important, especially in a country like India, to coordinate the growth of rural areas and with the future development of towns and cities to form an integral part of the balanced regions. And this urban planning also indicates that what it should be. And it's not that you develop only urban areas and you forget the rural areas. It is not urban development at all. The urban development means you're also developing rural areas. So there needs to be, and one thing is that you have to develop the rural areas, and also you have to develop the urban areas. So you need to approach towards a balanced growth of development in addressing the needs and the challenges of urban areas. So therefore, there is a need to have an integral part, of the balanced, approach between the urban and rural areas. Therefore, the regional approach should attempt to reduce the socio-economic imbalance between the urban and the rural areas. And so this brings a sustainable development between this, between the rural and urban areas, because it's not just urban planning, it's not just construction of big cities and construction of big buildings, and whereas you forget the rural countryside. It is not that, and you have to protect the rural infrastructure as well as you protect and develop the urban infrastructure, and thereby you provide, there is a need to provide a balanced approach between these two, that is the rural as well as the urban areas. So therefore, urban planning basically indicates, and basically indicates and how to use the land use. The land use planning also plays a huge role in urban planning, because 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 urban planning, if you don't have a proper approach to address the urban planning, and you cannot have a clear cut planning about the usage of land use pattern. So why it is important, because urban planning is faced with problems of expanding cities clubbed with ensuring land for locating additional houses, industries, public buildings, and recreational facilities. Simultaneously, there are problems like shortage of farmland, ill effects of deforestation, urban development along highways, and imbalance in rural and urban life, and so on and so forth. Therefore, urban planning thus is a very broad concept and includes not only planning of streets, houses, and a few civic buildings, but if town planning to be effective, aesthetic, and creative, it has to start from the village and cover the entire country. And this is what I'm actually emphasizing, that the point is that the urban planning is not merely the development of urban alone. It also, there is a need, and a proper approach is required to address the needs of the rural areas, so that you need to have a comprehensive, balanced, and integrated approach for both the development of the urban areas as well as the rural areas. Therefore, urban planning has to incorporate the interest of not only one community, or the interest of the urban alone, but several communities within the urban context as well as the rural context. So therefore, urban planning takes place within a national framework. I think it has to put itself within the national framework, because planning gains its power through the embodiment in its legislation and regulations, which forms a part of the legal apparatus, which can vary from country to country. The implementation of planning occurs through the administrative system, and urban planning should not only be politically and socially, culturally feasible, but it should be environmentally, economically, technologically, physically, and infrastructure wise also it should be feasible, because urban planning is a mandatory, that keeping in view the growing population and its needs. Because you cannot expect the state government as well as the national governments, they cannot escape from this, because they have to address the needs of this urbanization, because urbanization is a reality and one cannot escape, and it is also inevitable. And you can't say that you can't stop the growth of urbanization. It's not in your hands. No, the growth of urbanization, it keeps on cropping up, keeps on adding new features every day, and brings new challenges, problems, because you need to have that, you need to face, the state government as well as the government must be ensured to update and upgrade their approach to address the needs, because urbanization is not something that you follow the older model. It's not that. Urbanization, it keeps adding new features to the development process. It keeps adding not only adding development to new to uh, hello, hello,
Sir,
Navyasri. Yeah, is it okay? Am I audible?
okay, sir.
Uh, yeah, someone messaged me that I am unable to hear your voice, sir. Navyasri, is it okay?
No, sir, I'm unable to hear your voice, sir.
Is it okay, Harnad Garu? Is it I'm able to hear you? Can you able to hear
Okay,
No,
me?
sir.
sir, your voice was little
Hear me, sir.
low, sir. I'm unable to hear your voice, sir.
Is it okay now? I think Harnad Garu is hearing me properly. Please increase your volume,
No, sir,
Navyasri.
your voice is unable to hear, sir.
Harnad Garu, is it okay? Can you hear me?
Mark, okay, sir.
Yeah, that's what it is okay here, because signal strength is also good here. And please check you from your side now, Navasri.
Okay, sir. I will be checking.
Yeah, yeah, fine, fine. Okay. Yeah, this is what, the urban planning, as we discussed that, it requires, we should have a proper, urban planning, to address the needs and, the problems, so unless you have a urban planning, proper approach, you cannot develop the cities and urban areas on a environmentally, economically, technologically, and physically and infrastructural feasible wise, right? So because, there the problems like congestion, overcrowding or crowding of homes, the poverty and unemployment, and the high incidence of deviant social behavior, the growth of substandard settlements and squatter colonies, the shortage of housing, the lack of community facilities, public utilities, or, or the some of these examples that we have ineffective planning in urban areas. I think. I think, unless you have those things, why I'm using the word here, deviant social behavior, because when you have a so much, overcrowding, so what it brings in is that, along with the overcrowd of population, you also have, suppose if you have a so much overcrowd of population, this, the police cannot provide a security to everyone, isn't it? Now the point is that, there is a chances of deviant behavior. What is deviant social behavior? Deviant social behavior means there is a chances of more crime rates, in urban areas. So there is a lot of, the urban planning means not just addressing the needs of the housing, bringing new roads, bringing, high rise buildings. It is not that. It is also very much essential to address the challenges of deviant behavior also. Deviant behavior also, there is a proper need, because, and compare, when you compare, the crime rates in India particularly, I think you must have observed just few days back that, state government of Telangana also released their crime data, every year. They generally release those crime data every year at the end of, the December. So what they tend to highlight is that, there is a more crime rates in urban areas than the rural areas. Why? It is because that, predominantly because that, there are a lot of people are migrating to urban areas, and when a lot of people are migrating to urban areas, the police government and the state government becomes ineffective to address the needs and challenges of those, overcrowding. As a result, what happens is that there is also chances of increasing crime rates. So, this what I'm trying to indicate here is that, the urban planning also indicates the planning to regulate the social deviant behavior of the youth, and this is very very important. You cannot imagine a proper and, proper planning, urban planning, without addressing the needs of the crime rates. For example, there is a lot of crime rates against women in urban areas. Visit it. The woman is deprived of, going out. There is a lot of challenges women face, right? So there's a lot of, issues are there, that you can set n number of examples. For example, and you don't have a proper road facility, and you don't have a proper, toilet facility, for example. And in urban areas particularly, women face lot of problems with lack of access to public toilets in urban cities. Suppose if a woman is comes to a shopping mall, or, to go to their, employment or educational needs, they have to stay. Suppose if they are standing on the roads, if there is an emergency to go to use washrooms, there is no facility at all. And where this is the urban growth is growing. And, suppose if you cannot provide the basic fundamental, the public toilets, and the way the youth can go and, use, this is very huge problem, isn't it? So this is urban planning should, make think of all these, challenges, and to provide environmentally, technologically, economically, physically, and feasible to all sections in the society, to all diverse sections. Because why I'm using the word diverse means the urban society has lot of diverse people. It's not that only rich people live, it is also poor people live, and it's also the women particularly. It's also the slums. Slums, you have a different problems altogether. The slums, you have a different problems. In slums, what which are the people they live in slums? It is the poor people they live in slums, right? So, and generally those slums are unrecognized by the government. The government says, no, says that no, no, this is the government land, you cannot go and reside in those colonies. But what people can do, where people have no other choice to just go and occupy that land and stay there for some time. The point is that invariably those small and temporary settlements are actually becoming a permanent settlement over a period of time. Now the slums are now permanent creature of those urban settings. Now the government must think about those slums also, to address the needs and challenges of those, because in slums there is a shortage of power, there is a shortage of drinking water facility, there is a shortage of the proper disposal of those drainage facilities, there is a shortage of public toilets there is a shortage of proper roads, and a lot of other challenges are there, because it is the urban poor that reside in those colonies. I think urban planning also must think of those people to address the diverse sections of the society, because unless you think about them, you cannot have a proper urban planning to address the needs and challenges of the city. Therefore therefore uh, 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 therefore the planning is a very, very important aspect, in addressing the needs and challenges of the people in the urban areas. And this is where I want to emphasize another important aspect, is that the master plan. The master plan also very, very essential, to address the needs and challenges of the urban areas, because the master plan generally means that master plan, to put it so bluntly, that it may be defined as a general plan for the future layout of a city, showing both the existing and proposed streets and roads and open spaces and public buildings and so on and so forth. Therefore a master plan is very, very essential, because which is prepared either for improvement of the old city or for a new town to be developed into a new area. In other words, master plan is a blueprint for the future, and it is a comprehensive document with a long range in its view, which is intended to guide development in the township for the next at least 10 to 30 or 40 years. So this is where the master plan is very, very essential, because it is a blueprint about the future. Suppose if you don't have the master plan, and your development goes with a blind approach, right? Because in the master plan, suppose if you have a master plan approach, you know where the problems will be, where the challenges are going to occur in the future. And if you have a proper master plan, and you will be addressing the needs and challenges that arise in the future, right? And this is where the master plan is very important, because the master plan is a land use and infrastructural plan that sets forth the local goals, objectives, and practice policies of for the community growth and development. So it is a guide for land use of the future. It is a guide for the land use of the future. So this is referred to a comprehensive plan, future land use plan, basic plan, and general plan. So therefore, the you need to have a master plan that has a dynamic long-term planning development document that provides a conceptual layout to guide future growth and development. So this it makes a connection. The master planning is all about makes the connection between the buildings, social settings, and the surrounding environments. It brings a connectivity between all these things. So therefore, it includes analysis, recommendations, proposals, site improvements, and so on and so forth. And it addresses the, for example, it addresses the population growth, it addresses the economy imbalance, it addresses the housing problems, transportation, community facilities, and land use patterns, and so on and so forth. Therefore, the master plan is a very dynamic long term planning document that provides a conceptual layout, a conceptual understanding about the future, you know, problems that it actually has. So and along with this, and I want to emphasize the another important point is that zoning plan. What is this zoning plan? The zoning plan, zoning means that it defines a mechanism and regulations by the municipal authority of the use of land and of the buildings. So in other words, zoning plan is defined as the process of planning for land use in a territory to allocate certain kinds of structures in certain areas. Zoning also includes restrictions with regard to the height of the buildings, use of green space, density of the population, types of business, and so on and so forth. So therefore, zoning is done. Zoning is done at different levels and is of different types, right? For example, you have a open space, residential, retail, commercial, agriculture, and industrial. In other words, the zoning plan means that it is a comprehensive document that actually comes from the government authorities. It brings in lot of restrictions about the, for example, height of the buildings, and to maintain the green space, parks, and density, and to also ensure that the density of population, density of structures. For example, how many buildings that particularly locality should have, and what is the the ground, the bore level, for example. And now people are like, there is a no control at all, right? There is no control, and people can go even 2000, 3000 feet to draw bore water. But the point is that there are certain restrictions on those things. You cannot have 2000, 3000, 5000 feet that you go dig the ground and to draw the water. It is not that. Actually, the point is that the government should have those policy measures, and it should ensure and implement those guidelines, and to all the residents in the urban colonies. And particularly in urban colonies, what it matters is that the government also must takes it a proper steps to proper steps to make to bring awareness among all these policies to the residents. Because unless you bring awareness about all these policies and measures, and you cannot have visualize a comprehensive and sustainable development. Therefore, the zoning plays a crucial role, because it brings in the mechanism, it brings in the regulations designed by the municipal authorities, and to how to use the land, and the structure of the buildings, and how to say, for example, height of the buildings, and how to maintain the use of green space, and how to also ensure to have a required number of structures in a certain area, and so on and so forth. Therefore, the zoning is a different there has a different purposes for each purpose. For example, open space, you have a different zoning. Residential areas, you have a different zoning. Retail areas, you have a different zoning. And commercial and agriculture and industrial areas, you have a different zoning. So therefore, the zoning is a planning control tool for regulating the built environment and creating functional real estate markets. It divides the land that comprises the statutory area of a local authority into sections, permitting particular land uses on specific sites to shape the layout of towns and cities and enable various types of development. Zoning has a relatively short history as a tool for land use planning. It determines the location, size, and use of buildings, and decides the density of city blocks. Therefore, Therefore, zoning is a technique of land use planning as a tool of urban planning used by local government in most developed nations, as well as it is also used in Indian context. So legally, the zoning plan is usually enacted by law, with respective procedures. Generally, the master plan has a view, but it is not enacted by law. But whereas the zoning planning is enacted by law, so therefore the zoning has a very authoritative document. It is a purely authoritative document because it is legally enacted document, and with all the foreseen challenges and development aspects. The point is that because zoning provides a common good and general welfare of the whole community as a whole, and it provides it design it provides designing the future growth and development of the town, and it brings in effective and successful town planning scheme, and it also properly coordinates of various public amenities like transport, water supply, drainage, electric power, and so on and so forth. And it also assesses the future growth and development and adequacy of social structure, public streets, pedestrian walkways, density of population, and many other factors that are within legislative competence. So therefore the zoning plays a very crucial role because it brings in it brings in the lot of development aspects in it brings in lot of development aspects in the region. Therefore, zoning plays a huge role in development of the urban areas. Hello.
Sir, Stephen.
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Fine. Right. Okay, I'll continue the class then. There is a signal problem here. I'm just okay. Now I'm confirming. Okay, right. If you have any problem, just you let me know. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. Therefore, zoning is more than a master document because zoning is a significant for efficient provision of amenities, future development, and health of a community, population distribution, and public utility services. The importance of zoning has been recognized during during the last few decades because zoning provides a legal authority to the master plan. First you have a master plan, but adding legality to those master plan is a zoning document. So that is the difference. That is the way because zoning is enacted by the law, is enacted by the judiciary because it brings in a lot of legal dimension to the zoning. Therefore, zoning plays a very crucial role, very crucial role in addressing the needs and challenges of the urban areas. And along with this, and you have and lot of other activities that we'll be discussing because the technology is like evolving day, and the application of particularly application of geographic information system GIS, it plays a very crucial role in urban planning. Now the with the use of urban planning, now government is able to map out what is the challenges, and what are the where are the water bodies located, and what sort of urban bodies and water bodies located in the past, and how to protect them for the future. And with all these challenges, the application of geographic information system GIS plays a very useful and for the urban planners. For example, GIS technology empowers urban planners with enhanced visibility visibility into the data. They monitor fluctuations over time, evaluate the feasibility of proposed projects, and predict their effects on the government. So GAS, therefore, GAS software can also show all relevant stakeholders exactly changes on the ground that will look like to help them, to make them better in their decisions and planning. So GIS software generate a visualization of an area's current environmental conditions, as well as to predict the future also, because it provides therefore it empowers urban planners with a enhanced visibility to design and implement urban planning. So in other words, and as the technology moves, and from one zone to another, and as it upgrades from one area to another, the use of GIS, that is geographical information system, plays a very crucial role, and it is actually empowering the urban planners. It is actually the empowering the urban planners in a more designable, in a more desirable as well as effective manner. Therefore, friends, now so far we discussed the city planning, we discussed the physical planning, the master plan, and the zonal planning, right? So, how they are important in a urban planning, because they are all mutually influence each other, and and to bring in lot of sustainable development, so on and so forth, right? So and now we'll be also discussing the urban development, right? The I mean so why all this, the urban planning is very essential for urban development. You cannot have a urban development without having the urban policies, right? So urban policies and governance are required for urban development, right? So particularly, friends, and I want to emphasize the fact that this after independence, India embarked on a national program of economic development and planning, right? So it requires the planning encompasses policies regarding various aspects of the economy and sustainable development. So unlike industrialization and development of transportation, etc., is spontaneous rather than a induced phenomenon. The urbanization is often perceived as a peripheral used by economists and planners, right? So it is to assert that urbanization is not a trivial aspect of the process of socio-economic development in India at the present time, because it is no more a a negligible aspect, because it is a very occurrent phenomenon that the government must address this occurrent the phenomenon of urbanization, because one cannot escape from this the notions of urban challenges. Therefore, the urban development refers to urbanization with its different dimensions and perceptions. Physical and land use patterns, such as urban sprawl and increase in artificial surfaces, geographical population and employment concentration, economic market, for example. So all this spillovers plays a very huge role, and brings in a lot of challenges to urban development, right? So therefore urban development also refers to a system of residential expansion that creates cities. The residential areas are the primary focus of urban development. Urban development occurs by expansion into unpopulated areas and the renovation of decaying regions. So urban society is characterized by a sharp economic disparity between a small number of wealthy families and a large number of petty traders, artisans, and the poor. Urban planning is necessary, therefore, urban planning is necessary to address the disparities between the rich and the poor, to address the environmental issues, to strengthen the sustainable development paradigm. Therefore, urban planning deals with the design of the built environment from the municipal or the metropolitan perspective, isn't it? Now I want to ask you, a few certain, questions. Navesri, can you able to hear me, Hanad Garu?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Now I want to ask you something that, what are the basic problems that you actually, observe in urban areas? What are the basic problems?
Water problem. Water problem,
Very
sir.
good. Water problem, particularly very, very important, because one thing is the water problem, and any other more?
Drainage problems also.
Drainage problem, that is very important. Yes, and any more? One thing is, as you said, that water problem, yes, drainage problem, and you don't have a proper road facility also, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Road fix.
Yes, the road facility, you don't have road facility, and you don't have a, look at the problems of the urban poor. For example, uh, can we say that all regions in the urban localities are same? No. For example, Gachibowli area.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, in Gachibowli area, for example, you find lot of big buildings. But whereas in other areas, very small areas like slum areas, right? So, and who will talk about them? There are a lot of poor people are reside in slum areas, isn't it? Now, what I'm trying to indicate is that the urban planning means should also think about the development of the slum areas, isn't it? So, urban planning means development of those slum areas, address the needs of the poor people in the urban areas, because there, as you rightly said, that there is a shortage of water facility. There is a shortage of, there is no proper drainage disposal. And look at the drive. Suppose if there is a 15 minutes of rain in the city, can you imagine how the roads will look like? Completely flood, isn't it? So complete the flood of areas. This is where the proper urban planning is required to address those needs, because unless you address those challenges and needs, you cannot have a proper urban development in Indian context. And particularly in India, there is a huge growth of urbanization day by day. That, though the government of India has implemented a lot of urban development policies over the years since independence through 5-year plans. But however, it brings in a lot of development. There is no doubt at all. The point is that along with that development, the urbanization also brought in various other challenges and issues. And there is a lot of there is also the growth of unequal relations between the rich and the poor in the urban spaces, because a lot of poor people are also migrating from rural areas to urban areas in search of food, in search of job security, in search of employment opportunities, and in search for a dignified living in a urban areas. But however, the reality shows that there are a lot of poor people are still struggling to find a suitable employment, are still struggling to find a proper drinking water facility, are still they are still they are finding a lot of problems to find a suitable employment opportunities and housing patterns and so on and so forth. Now the point is that, and how to address this, how to address the challenges of those poor people, and how to address the challenges of the the environment, the be it the sound pollution, be it the water pollution, air pollution, and you have a lot of other pollutions are there in the urban societies. Unless you address those, I think there is a need for the government to rethink and redesign and upgrade to address the needs of the urbanization, because urbanization, it keeps changing its manifestations from one phase to another. You cannot have a development model that actually talked about urbanization in 1950s, because from the 1950s to 2026 there is a lot of changes that occurred, though the urbanization is taking its new avatars day by day. So government must redesign and upgrade its policies to ensure that the challenges and problems that are to be addressed in the urban context. So friends, with this note, I end this class, and if you have any doubts you can ask. Navesri, do you have any doubts? Harnad garu, you have any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you for attending the class. Thank you for attending the
No,
class, and
sir.
we'll meet you.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah.